Welcome back. Some big news this week. The North Carolina General Assembly successfully overrode Governor Roy Cooper's veto of Senate Bill 382, Disaster Relief 3, finalizing its passage into law. The Senate took the first step last week, voting along party lines 30-20 to override the veto. On Wednesday this week, the House followed suit with a 72-46 vote, with 2 Democrats missing. This legislation, which bundles disaster relief funding with budget adjustments and other statutory changes, now takes effect. A key focus of Hurricane Helene recovery bill is the removal of red tape and regulatory barriers that could delay critical rebuilding efforts. So, an important provision in the bill would extend permits and approvals for both land disturbance activities and building permits. Some of those permits include erosion and sedimentation control, water and wastewater permits, building permits, and water quality certifications. For a complete list, see our written legislative report. Another provision authorizes a waiver of submission and approval of sedimentation pollution control plan prior to the initiation of land development activities. This change would allow land disturbance to run simultaneously with the permitting process, saving months of processing time. The applicant is still required to adhere to all erosion control measures prior to disturbance and must notify the agency with jurisdiction of the date in which the land disturbing activity will begin. Another critical provision in the bill would freeze the enforcement of tree ordinances in the counties impacted by the storm until March 1st, 2025. Such ordinances often impose strict requirements on tree removal and replanting, which can delay essential repairs, increase cost, and hinder the ability to clear debris and ensure safety. By limiting these regulations, property owners can address storm damage more quickly, remove hazardous trees, and restore their property without unnecessary bureaucratic obstacles. For all builders across the state, this is important. The bill delays the statewide implementation of the 2024 State Building Code until July 1st, 2025. This delay allows builders, developers, and local governments additional time to prepare for new standards which aim to balance safety, efficiency, and cost. Unlike the earlier provisions listed in this report, this delay is for the entire state. Delaying the implementation of the latest building codes for 6 months can indeed provide Western North Carolina the opportunity to rebuild without the additional complexity of transitioning to a new code book during an already challenging period. The bill also modifies the makeup of the newly formed Commercial Building Code Council. It strikes the attorney position and replaces that appointment with a licensed design professional with experience in design of structures or buildings subject to the North Carolina Building Code. NCHBA worked tirelessly with Senator Steve Jarvis and Representative Dean Arp on this change. The last provision deals with a statewide change on land use policy. For decades, property owners have faced the challenge of local governments downzoning their property to compel negotiations for rezoning. This practice often forces property owners or developers into making costly concessions, hindering their ability to maximize the use and value of their land. The provision in this bill would halt the practice of local governments intentionally downzoning property in an effort to extort property owners. This bill explicitly states no amendment to zoning regulations or a zoning map that downzones property shall be initiated, enacted, or enforced without the written consent of all property owners whose property is subject to the downzoning amendment. Downzoning has been a persistent issue that has been a factor in the increase of housing across the state. This provision represents a significant victory for property owners and a landmark achievement for landowners, ensuring that they retain the ability to develop their property in the future without unnecessary obstacles. That'll do it for this legislative session as they wrapped up business officially on Friday morning. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Again, thank you for all your support.